Marijuana, or ganja as we call it in the islands, is it a stock market trend for white and prison time for blacks? Marijuana has become one of the top contenders on the stock market when it comes to making money. The United States, Canada, and other countries have already legalized marijuana and are working on laws to make the use of marijuana legal. Medical marijuana has been legalized nationwide in Canada since 2001, and now Canada has the Cannabis Act in works to legalize recreational marijuana. In Ohio, areas like Toledo, Bel Air, Newark, Roseville, and Logan legalized marijuana possession. It is apparent that marijuana reform is taking place worldwide. In 2018, 21 states considered bills that would legalize adult use marijuana. Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Hawaii, Kansas, Kentucky, Maryland, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Wisconsin, and West Virginia. 22 states and the District of Columbia have decriminalized small amounts of marijuana. This generally means certain small amount personal consumption amounts are a civil or local infraction, not a state crime, where you have the possibility of serving jail time. It's one of the lowest form of misdemeanor. Currently, marijuana is on the stock market in Canada and the United States. There are also hundreds of marijuana startups. However, the federal government remains steadfast in keeping marijuana illegal. This is very concerning since the marijuana arrest and prosecution rate are disproportionately black. Even though the American Civil Liberties Union states that there is similarity in the marijuana consumption rate between blacks and whites. It is this way in areas highly populated or not so highly populated by blacks. So regardless of what, the majority of the people in prison for marijuana use or consumption or whatever the case is, those people are black. To this day, there are still more arrests made for possession of a small portion of marijuana than violent crimes, even with legalization or softening of the law in favor of marijuana. The number of people arrested for a marijuana law violation in 2017 was 659,700. The percentage of people arrested for drug law violations who were black or Latino were 46.9%, despite making up just 31.5% of the US population. So you do the math. The number of those charged with marijuana law violations were arrested for possessions were 599,282, 90.8%. Those were the number of those charged with marijuana law violations for possession. Okay? Yet, the $47+ billion a year war to enforce marijuana has had no impact on its availability or use. That's why they're making it legal now. I wrote this piece last year and I posted it on Black Spot, which is now Black Space. And I went back to do the research just to make sure numbers gone up. That brings us to the fact that the prisons are on the stock market. This is the reason why I wrote it, because I think these two things are conflicting. You have the same set of people in control, monetary-wise, of the prison system, and the marijuana. So they have their hands dabbling in two things that are in conflict. Okay? The prison companies have been lobbying for more lengthy and severe sentencing to ensure filled prison cells. In fact, the prison stats increased with Trump's election. In the private prison system, federal prisoners increased 120%, while state prisons increased 33%. These prison systems rely on a healthy government budget. In fact, government employees could be unknowingly supporting the prisons. Their retirement funds are invested in two of the largest private prison systems. You will be surprised to find out that the corporations that you do business with own a sizable amount of prison stocks. Even some banks are invested in prison systems. So be careful who we do business with. Shop black, buy black, do everything black if you can help it. To keep the pockets of a certain group of people lined, the black man and the black community pay a heavy price. I say this because after incarceration, the black man's ability to find a job is limited or lost. His ability to get a higher education or secure housing is lost because the federal government does not provide grants to felons, and some landlords don't rent to felons. In the case where he loses his driver's license, job search and taking care of his family is restricted or lost. In fact, most employers don't hire felons. It's hard to look at this picture and not ask, what the hell is going on? Black people don't normally invest in the stock market, but there is a good amount of black people employed by the government, and I'm one of them. I'm employed by federal government. So this concerns me. There are also more black men in American prisons than any place on earth, and most are there for marijuana possession. Now you see where I'm going with this, why I'm connecting the two. Think carefully about this. A certain group of people continue to line their pockets by using black people's labor in and out of prison. Things are about to change because the legalization of marijuana is in conflict with the prison's ability to maintain its capacity. Okay? This marijuana legalization situation is threatening to cut in on the money used for marijuana possession. Okay? The marijuana legalization situation cuts into their money because marijuana possession is how they get most black men in prison. And the prison system is their money maker. If you are in jail for marijuana possession and marijuana becomes legal, should you still be held a prisoner? This is the $47 billion question, because it's $47+ billion that they use to fight crime where drugs are concerned. Your takeaway from this should be the federal government is being lobbied by the prison companies for more lengthy and severe sentencing. The prison stocks rely heavily on government support. Black men are arrested and prosecuted at a disproportionate rate for marijuana possession as opposed to white men, despite similarity in usage. Some of the continental United States are working on legalizing marijuana use. The federal government does not want to legalize marijuana. Should anyone be in prison for marijuana possession after marijuana is legalized? Why is the startup cost for a marijuana dispensary out of the range for blacks? to participate in a commodity that has kept them incarcerated. Considering the history of the government experimental damage to the blacks, should blacks even consider getting into the marijuana business? It is my responsibility to provide you with this information before I drop a video providing you with information on the startup costs and the needs of a marijuana dispensary. I feel that if you're going to do this, do it responsibly. Grow your own product to ensure that the quality is not compromised with poisonous substances. Practice group economics. One group of you could grow the product while another group of you run the dispensary. Black people, you know that the government and other groups do not care about us. Do not make this another crack epidemic. Do not make this marijuana dispensary thing another crack epidemic.